Hello again, my friends, and welcome to everybody. I want to try something different this time. Um, Instead of doing the traditional recording videos and um, editing them and putting them together, I want to try this new setup. It's still a traditional video, but I want to make it um, a live stream. The downside of this would be then that I can't add things in, I can't take things out, and I can't edit it. The upside is that I'll be able to possibly have chats with people as well, and have it more interactive. So for this first one, now I want to take a look at intelligent design, or the teleological argument. All right, so there are two main aspects of this teleology I want to take a look at. The philosophical component and the intelligent design component. In other words, is the design actually intelligent? So philosophically, this is known as the argument from design. And the design argument has been around for millennia, but most often originally associated with Thomas Aquinas. In his book Summa Theologica, he proposed 5 ways to prove the existence of God. Now, I'm not going to deal with the first 4 here, but his fifth way is, in his fifth way, he spells out the argument from design. And it basically goes like this. Premise 1, the universe has purpose, order, and regularity. Premise 2, the complexity of the universe shows evidence of design. Premise 3, such evidence implies a designer. And conclusion, therefore the designer must be God. I see a couple of problems with this argument. Firstly, complexity doesn't necessarily mean design. If you said let's first take a look at a really good design is not complex, it's simple. The more complex something is, the more prone it is to failure. If you had if you wanted to design a skateboard, and instead of just 4 wheels and a truck on a board, you put 12 wheels, a couple of cogs, some chains, the chances of it breaking down or not working well is really good. So the idea is to make it as simple as possible, not complex. Another example is if I made a coffee mug, and all around the coffee mug I put handles, just a couple of millimeters apart, you would have incredibly complex coffee mug, but it was almost impossible to hold because you couldn't get your fingers into any of the holes. So definitely the simpler, the better. Another part of it is that God, being a creator, must be at least as complex as the most complex of his creation. So if God is complex, does that mean he's designed? And if God was designed, by whom? And even if we can accept that there is intelligent design to the world, which God? You would again be having problems with, is it the God of the Bible? Is it another one of the gods that used to exist? Is it a deistic form of God that doesn't interact with the world of any kind? Is it a God that stopped existing once he created the universe? We stuck with, if there is one, which one? Now, the most famous presentation of this design argument was put forward by William Paley in 1802 in his work on natural theology, and it became known as the watchmaker analogy. In it, he wrote, "In crossing a heath, suppose I pitched my foot against a stone, and were asked how the stone came to be there. I might possibly answer that for anything I knew to the contrary it had lain there forever. Nor would it perhaps be very easy to show the absurdity of this answer. But suppose I had found a watch upon the ground, and it should be inquired how the watch happened to be in that place. I should hardly think of the answer which I had been given before, that for anything I knew, the watch might have always been there. Yet why should not this answer serve for the watch as well as for the stone? Why is it not as admissible in the second case as in the first? For this reason and for no other, namely that when we come to inspect the watch, we perceive what we could not discover in the stone, that its several parts are framed and put together for a purpose, the required mechanism being observed. The inference we think is inevitable, that the watch must have had a maker. Every observation which is made in our first chapter concerning the watch may be repeated with strict propriety concerning the eye, concerning animals, concerning plants, concerning indeed all the organized parts of the works of nature. The eye would be alone sufficient to support the conclusion which we draw from it as to the necessity of an intelligent creator. The problem with the watchmaker analogy is if you found a watch lying on the ground with a bottle lying beside it, you wouldn't assume the watch and the bottle had the same designer. The watch would have a designer and the bottle would probably have a different designer. It is then logical to look at the world and assume that everything was made by one designer. Wouldn't plants have a plant designer and stars have a star designer? Does that mean the world was designed by a committee of gods? That would make the creators of the world polytheistic, thus excluding Yahweh, the God of the Bible, as being the sole creator of the universe. Another point is that design requires a frame of reference. If a watch appears designed compared to its natural surroundings, then clearly the implications are that the surroundings are not designed. And what would a non-designed universe look like? How would it look different from a naturally occurring universe? This is where I like the beaver dam and the pond analogies. I'm not sure who first came up with this analogy, but I have to credit Matalanti for my first introduction to it. If you could imagine you're walking down a river and you see it's all gunked up and blocked up, it's creating a dam, and you see a bunch of sticks and debris lying in the path of the water. How would you tell whether it was a dam made by beavers or if it was just stuff that washed down the river and got blocked up in this entranceway, not letting the water go through? The beaver side of it would be an intelligent design. Well, intelligent as far as beavers go. The second one would be a completely natural event, a natural occurrence, where it just blocked up quite naturally. How would you go about figuring out which one is naturally occurring and which one is designed? The second one is the pond analogy. If you come across a body of water forming a large pond, many ponds are made. I have one in my yard, a koi pond, where I dug a hole, I poured concrete in it, I waterproofed it, I sealed it. The other ones that you would find is a pond that's just a hole in the ground where rainwater is collected into. How would you tell the difference between a man-made one and a naturally occurring one? The answer for both instances, you'd have to look for evidence. Is there evidence of firstly, we would know what a beaver dam looks like. You look for the teeth marks on the wood. You look for drag marks. You look for beaver prints, footprints. You look for the tail marks, things like that. With a pond, you could look for is it something that it's got a regular shape? Has it been concreted in? Has it got some kind of waterproofing system on it? You would look for something that you know and understand from previous experience, how these things are formed, to be able to decide whether it is man-made or intelligently designed. Another form of this teleological argument is the anthropic principle, and it basically states, if I can just find this one, yeah. All right, here it is. Intelligent design is a pseudo-scientific argument for the existence of God, presented by its proponents as an evidence-based scientific theory about life's origins. And the argument for it goes as follows. The current universe is of the form that allows for intelligent observation. Premise 2, we exist in this universe. Conclusion, the universe exists in a way that allows us to observe it. Now, in other words, the fact that we are currently observing this universe implies that it's been designed in such a way as to admit our existence. This would bring us to Douglas Adams' puddle analogy, where he wrote, imagine a puddle waking up one morning and thinking, this is an interesting world I find myself in, an interesting hole I find myself in. Fits me rather neatly, doesn't it? In fact, it fits me staggeringly well. Must have been made to have me in it. So, was the universe designed with us in mind, or did we evolve to exist in this universe thinking it was designed with us in mind? This whole argument has been offered as intelligent design. Now, you don't have to take my word that the whole intelligent design concept is bunk. It's had its day in court and has been found wanting. In 2004, the Dover Area School Board in Dover, USA, attempted to introduce intelligent design into the curriculum to raise doubts about the theory of evolution. In the trial known as Kitzmiller versus Dover, intelligent design was put to the test, clearly for the first time. The following bits I'd like to thank AIP.org, and I'm going to link to their website in the description. This is basically what happened with the Kitzmiller versus Dover. In October 2004, the school board amended its curriculum with a disclaimer stating that students will be made aware of gaps, problems in Darwin's theory and of other theories of evolution, including, but not limited to, intelligent design. Later that year, it issued a statement to be read in 9th grade biology classes stating in part that gaps exist in the theory of evolution for which there is no evidence, and commending to students an intelligent design-related reference book. The statement was read to students by school administrators after the district's biology teachers refused to read it on the grounds that intelligent design is not science, intelligent design is not biology, and intelligent design is not accepted as scientific theory. And reading the statement violates our responsibilities as professional educators as set forth in the Code of Professional Practice and Conduct for Educators. Then in December of 2004, 11 parents of students attending Dover area schools filed a suit against the school district, claiming that ID policy violated the First Amendment Establishment Clause. In his December 20th ruling on the case, U.S. District Judge John E. Jones III stated the disclaimer, and the disclaimer read, singles out the theory of evolution for special treatment, misrepresents its status in the scientific community, causes students to doubt its validity without scientific justification, presents students with a religious alternative masquerading as scientific theory, directs them to consult a creationist text as though it were a science resource, and instructs students to forego scientific inquiry in the public school classroom and instead to seek out religious instruction elsewhere. After a lengthy trial, the judge's ruling was scathing. Judge Jones said, to preserve the separation of church and state mandated by the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment to the United States Constitution, and Article 1, Section 3 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, the judge's decision states, "We will enter an order permanently enjoining defendants from maintaining the intelligent design policy in any school within the Dover area school district, from requiring teachers to denigrate or disparage the scientific knowledge of evolution, and requiring teachers to refer to a religious alternative theory known as intelligent design." Based on court testimony and documents from experts on both sides of the issue, he concluded that intelligent design is not science and cannot be adjudged as a valid, accepted scientific theory, as it has failed to publish in peer-reviewed journals, engage in research and testing, and gain acceptance in the scientific community. His decision also further stated, "We find that while intelligent design arguments may be true, a proposition on which the court takes no position, intelligent design is not science. We find that intelligent design fails on 3 different levels, any one of which is sufficient to preclude a determination that ID is science. They are: intelligent design violates the centuries-old ground rules of science by invoking and permitting supernatural causation. Number 2, the argument of irreducible complexity central to ID employs the same flawed and illogical contrived dualism that doomed creation science in the 1980s. And thirdly, intelligent design's negative attacks on evolution have been refuted by the scientific community. It is additionally important to note that intelligent design has failed to gain acceptance in the scientific community. It has not generated peer-reviewed publications, nor has it been the subject of testing and research. Intelligent design may be theologically attractive, but it has no place in the real world. Until it can be tested, falsified, and make predictions, it remains little more than wishful thinking." So here's a question. If God gets the credit for intelligent design of the universe, at whose feet do we lay the obvious faults within the design? There are many obvious design flaws like cleft palate and conjoined Siamese twins. This is the foundation for the this teleological argument. And it goes as follows. Premise 1. An omnipotent creator would create organisms with optimal design. Premise 2. Organisms often have features which are suboptimal. Conclusion. Either the organisms were not created by an omnipotent creator, or the creator was not omnipotent. Now, I realize there are many Christians and apologists who steer clear of the omnis label for their God in order to avoid logical inconsistencies, like the well-known one, "Can God create a rock so large he cannot lift it?" They now go for a maximally great being, but that doesn't get them off the hook for this argument. There are many words that can be substituted for omnipotent that are equally devastating to their God. For example, a competent creator, an inattentive to detail creator, a lazy creator, etc. Use any of those and the argument still works. So now we come to the second aspect of the teleological argument I mentioned in the beginning. Is the design intelligent? When it comes to suboptimal designs, and in my view, the best argument for evolution against intelligent design has to be the laryngeal nerve. Now, imagine I came to install a cable from the street to your house, and instead of laying the cable directly from the front garden wall to the front of the house, I zigzagged it across the front lawn, up the driveway, around the garage and swimming pool, and all the way back to the front of the house. You would think I was insane. Yet this is what happens with a laryngeal nerve. The recurrent laryngeal nerve is a nerve that connects the larynx to the brain. In the case of humans, this nerve needs to be no longer than 150 millimeters, or about 6 inches. Yet it descends from the brain, loops around the heart, and ascends up to the larynx, covering a distance of about a meter or 40 inches. In the case of a giraffe, the laryngeal nerve makes a detour of about 5 meters as it travels all the way down the long neck, loops around the heart before ascending all the way back up again to the larynx. Why does it make this unnecessary detour? Well, The answer is evolution, not design. In the case of a fish, one of our very distant ancestors, the nerve would pass naturally from the brain past the heart to the gills. But as the bodies evolved and the heart separated in distance and position from the brain and breathing mechanism, it dragged the nerve along with it. There are many other design flaws that defy comprehension and logic. I want to just briefly touch on 3 of them. The first one for me would be eating and breathing. Our bodies have one hole in which we breathe and eat. It is all too easy for someone who's eating something to have something lodged in the back of their throat. They cannot get air past and they choke to death. This happens all the time. A much better design would have been to incorporate something like a blowhole on the top of the head, so we breathe through the top of our head and ate through our mouths, or breathe through a whole gills at the back of our ears and ate through our mouths. Anything along those lines, separating the 2 holes would have been a lot more efficient. The second one that's always bothered me is this design, this body design, has taken the most sensitive organ we have, the brain, and put it at the furthest point from the ground that it can. So anybody who's running or walking and trips, their brain has the furthest distance to travel. It gains the most momentum on the way down, so it's going to hit the hardest when it lands there. Sorry. Wouldn't it have been a lot better to put the brain lower down and in a place that's more padded, more protected, like the buttocks, for example, would be a good spot. Another one that comes to mind is, if I were to design a person, I wouldn't just give them 2 arms with hands on their head. I would give them 4. If you think about it, how often have you needed to hold up a sheet or a piece of paper with 2 hands and cut down the middle? You have to ask somebody to help you. Or if you're folding something large, you have to ask somebody to hold it for you. Very often you need to you need 2 hands to carry something and a third one to open a door. It would have made much more sense to give people 4 arms instead of 2. Once again, this shows evolution a lot stronger than design, because we came from animals, earlier forms of animal that ran on 4 legs. Sorry. 4 legs has been shown to be the most efficient method of traveling quickly. Then as we became bipedal, the front 2 legs lifted up and became arms, which would make sense for, once again, as I say, design, evolution, and not design. And last, by no means least, as a man, I can fully understand how any God that created man must have been a woman. There's no way a male God would have created a man and put the testicles on the outside of the body where it's in harm's way. Wouldn't a better design have been to put them inside the body cavity where they are safe and secure for reproductive purposes? Now, if I, as a mere mortal man, can see the design flaws and come up with solutions that are more elegant than the current forms, how could an all-knowing creator of the universe not have seen them? Surely a flawed design would indeed suggest either an incompetent designer or no designer at all, intelligent or otherwise. I see I've got some friends online here. Llewellyn, hold on a second. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm fine, thank you.
You've been waiting around a while.
Yes, but
before you start, let me just say we've got Sky Pilot on the chat as well. Hi there, good to see you again. I just want to put up your Sky Pilot says beaver dam, explore the interior and see the differences between a beaver construction versus natural pile-up. Agreed.
When it comes to intelligent design, I think of an engine, right? Today I was busy with the VVT gear, was broken, and so I made a few adjustments and stuff there. So now it's driving, right? So you see, just because something is complex now, which imply a creator, it doesn't mean it started off that way, right? So the cells in the body and stuff that we get today, it's now it's complex, but maybe in the past it didn't start off that way. You see, like a cars engine, cars from the 80s, the 60s, their engines wasn't that complex, but now with the 2000 models, cars and stuff, their engines is a lot more complex than the engines of those times, right?
Correct.
So we assume a lot when we look at the cell now and say this is complex because the cell can become more complex in the future, right? So, and you see what I have a theory of evolution, that you see, like I can put the engine together, no? Now the engines is different parts, and then when I put it together and I start it up, then it's like this engine is alive now, right? And our bodies is also like a sort of engine. We need water, we need food, like fuel, to keep us going. If we don't get food and water that is like fuel, we die, right? The same is with the engine. If an engine doesn't get food, water and oil, it will die out, right? So what if in the past the elements like that make up the cell, the parts that make up the cell was just maybe on the ground, and then the wind or the heat that was there, or the cold, it made these parts go into each other and form a basic simple cell, and then from that it evolved and became more complex and more complex. But that's just the theory that I always think of that when I'm busy, you see, with the engine, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm just on two things, So the second thing is when I look at the concrete, like on the road, then I see these plants grow out of this concrete, and it's like the road wasn't designed for those plants, right? But the plants still survive. They still find a way to grow in that environment that wasn't designed for them. So for me, and then I look at us humans, we build houses to survive. We build fences. We basically alter the earth for us to live on it comfortable, right? And so evolution makes much more sense that we the words escape me now. We pass on adapt to the environment around us instead of the environment was made for us by a designer, right? So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that would fit in perfectly well with the the puddle analogy, for example, where the argument always put forward for the fine-tuning argument, which is pretty much kind of what you're leaning toward. If, let's say, for example, one of those things was a little bit changed. So let's say, for example, the Earth was a little bit bigger, we'd have more mass, so gravity would be higher. The kind of I don't want to say beings, I don't want to say animals, the kind of things that would be living on the earth then wouldn't be us. It would be creatures that are much heavier, much broader, shorter legs, thicker legs, lower down to the earth, almost like an elephant with very short legs, because the gravity would be so great. Now let's take it to the other extreme. If let's say the Earth was a lot smaller in size, it would have much less gravity. The creatures that evolved to live there would then be lighter, mostly airborne, thinner, that type of thing, as opposed to the previous one. So we are living on the Earth as it is now because we have evolved to live on the Earth as it is now. If the Earth were any different, or any of those parameters were slightly different, life would probably still, in many of them, be permissible. They would just be different. Instead of humans sitting here saying how wonderful this universe designed for us, there would be some other creature, possibly intelligent, looking at the universe saying, not knowing humans, because humans would never have existed, looking at the universe and going, this thing was perfectly designed for me.
I saw a post where the Christians, they say that if aliens come here to Earth, then the atheists say now Christianity is done. But they will band together, the Christians, and they will say, okay, let's convert aliens to Christianity. And so I replied there and I told them, if Christians can get it right to convert aliens to Christianity, then our search for intelligent life will continue because the aliens won't be intelligent.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
When you see, they have this thing where they say the way that the Earth and everything, the sun is positioned just right for life, and it's like 1 out of a billion, trillions, however the number, right? And so I told them, but in the lotto, you have 1.3, 1.5 chance of winning, but people still win the lotto. So why is it different for the universe could have come by chance? Because people always, they win. Even if the odds are like very high, they still win.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of where they say, what are the chances of us being here at, say, 10 to the, and they put on some fantastic number to the power of something. The actual answer is the chances are 1, because
yes.
we are here and we did happen. So the chances were 1, not 10 to the 10 trillionth power. The odds are 1.
Yes. And for me, for the atheists, no, I always tell them it's like a soccer match, no. The Christian is saying, no, this team will win. And all the atheists is saying, look, we need to wait for the game to be played, and so that we can actually see who is the winner. Right? Yeah. We're not going to say, okay, this is the team, and then later we could be wrong, we could be right. Right? But it's better to say, let's wait for the game to be played, and then we can know for sure which team is winning.
For sure. No, absolutely. Yeah. Because until you have the evidence of something, you cannot make a conclusion.
Yes. And the whole thing of intelligent design is to just plug in a God, because intelligent design implies the intent to make something. And so some being must have had the intent to make an intelligent thing, right? But that's all. But it's like they always put the cart before the horse, right? They look at something and then they say, no, it must have been this. It must have been a being that made it, without showing evidence of the being, right?
Great.
So they just say, this is what is.
Yeah,
at this one,
you don't get to call it a being until it's been shown to be a being.
until it's so, yeah.
Yeah, you need to show it first.
There's another thing of, you see, people can live in conditions where it's snowing, ne?
Yeah.
Like -10 or what. And then you have people that live in 20 degrees, 30 degrees, 40 degrees. And people can still survive, right? So our bodies is very much adapt to the weather, even around us. So if you say, and that actually like destroys the intelligent design, because if we create something like, say, in the games now that we play on the computer, the games, the temperature is the same. The temperature doesn't change for the character, right? But by us, it's like our body sweat, or we put on warmer clothes to accommodate the weather. That is. So it's very much we adapt to our environments, and not the other way around, that the environment is adapt to us.
Correct, and that is the basis of evolution, because even though if tomorrow was suddenly it just happened to be 200 degrees Celsius tomorrow, we die.
Yes.
But if the Earth became 200 degrees Celsius over 1,000,000 years, we would be fine, because slowly but surely we would adapt over time to accommodate that 1 degree here, that other degree there. So the importance of evolution is the gradual change over a long period of time.
I think now of this movie that I watched, no? Of this people, the Japanese people, they send cockroaches to Mars, and then over a few years or so, they thought that the cockroaches was all wiped out because of the climate. And then they sent astronauts to Mars, and then when they came there to Mars, these cockroaches were like six-pack, like wrestler bodies. And they were like so stronger than these humans. And they say because of the gravity that is on Mars and the climate, and so it made those cockroaches evolve into strong humans like cockroaches. I'm thinking of this film now that I watch.
Yeah. It's something that not could happen, but we adapt to our environment over periods of time, which once again shows evolution, not design, because there are so many flawed designs. You cannot take a look at it and go, this was an intelligent design. At best, if I had to be really nice about it, and we said, okay, there was a design, we could not call it intelligent. It was clumsy at best. It was not well thought through. It was just put together quickly while God was waking up one morning. If you wanted to call it intelligent, it would have to be a lot better done than what it is at the moment. But everything in life has the hallmarks of evolution, not design, not any kind of competent design, at least.
And you know the story of Adam and Eve now, where they ate from the apple. So a lot of the Christians will say that we were perfect design, but then we ate the apple, and then we're not perfect anymore. But it's the only thing that changed was the everlasting life, basically. Right? In Adam and Eve would live forever, and then because they ate the apple, they would die. So that is basically the only thing that changed. Everything is still the same for us. Adam still breathed in the garden. He still ate in the garden, still drank water in the garden, and he even named the animals in the garden. So it's not much that has changed for that to be like an argument.
They like to blame the fall of man on everything.
Mm.
Now, when it comes to things like hardships and things like that, you could, with a stretch of the imagination, go, okay, we're fallen beings, and that's the result of it. But that doesn't say anything towards the intelligent design, because once again, Adam and Eve were created with a single opening that they ate and breathed through, so that they could have choked as well. They still had two arms. Adam still had his testicles hanging outside his body, which is a terrible design. So those things all happened before the fall. So we couldn't put the fall on that. There's no ways you could say, due to the fall of man and man's sin, now the design is suboptimal. It doesn't work like that.
I know we're getting off track now, but with Adam, I was telling this other woman, because with the atheism, and so I was explaining to her, and then I'm like, why is it so difficult for people to see that it's man-made? Because we have evidence for years now, since human began to walk upright, that men always come from women. And so woman was then in charge, right? If a man wanted to do something, that a woman would say, no, you only men can come from us. It's not the other way around. So in order for men to get power, they had to switch it up and make up a story that no, woman came from a man's rib. And so that would change it. And so if you look at it that way, you can see the intent behind why men would spread the story and make this religion that is man-made, so that they can change the fact that men always come from women, not the other way around.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. I'm reaching the end of my allotted time that I was planning on. It was really nice to speak to you, my friend. It's been a while.
Yes, I've been busy with work, with the business that I have now. So
okay,
the con. Yes,
I think I'm going to start trying to do this format a bit more often for my videos, instead of shooting them in segments and editing them together. Try and do them like this, so that we can interact and we can talk about things, and hopefully the comment section will pick up, the chat will pick up, and we'll be able to get more people on. And it was like you, it was awesome having you on, and hopefully with my next video you'll put an appearance again.
Yes, if it's not load shedding.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah.
Anyway,
just for your viewers, I go by the Capetonian Atheist. I will be on TikTok and start making videos. But yeah.
Okay, I look forward to seeing those. Yeah, no, please. What I'll do is I'll link to you in the description. Just send me the details that you want in the description, and I'll put it in after this broadcast.
Okay.
Okay, my friend.
Bye.
Keep well, and we speak soon.
Goodbye.
Cheers. All right, friends. I would like to hear what you think about this format, where we're able to talk about things and reason them through and get other people's points of view. It'll be nice to see what other people think. And I call myself a truth-seeking atheist, and I'm deadly serious about that. I am an atheist, and I do want to know what truth is out there. If somebody can show me something that I didn't know before, can tell me something, I would love to hear it, because I'm open to changing my point of view. I was a Christian. I deconverted when I found out I didn't have any good reasons to continue being a Christian. So I am open to converting back. I'm not one of those atheists that say I will never do it. If there's a good reason to do it, if somebody can show me evidence, show me solid evidence. I've been asking for it for ages. Nobody's come even close to something that is fallacy free. So yeah, if we can talk to one another and maybe broaden our knowledge, broaden our ideas, that would be amazing. Please don't forget to take a look at the website is still up. I'm on www.truthseekingatheist.com, and I'm not sure what video we're going to do next, but I'll definitely put it up there, and hopefully you guys will come back and we can have more of a discussion. TLX, I'll see you there. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, I'm planning on it. If you have any ideas for topics, please drop it into the comments, and let's take a look at covering some topics that you guys find interesting. Until then, thank you, everybody. It's good to see you. Keep well, and until next time, keep well.